Hi guys, we're back again. Black men talk bloods in the barbershop. So it's another group of black men we have here today, so hope you enjoy. Thank you guys for joining us today. Can we just state your name and as we go across and introduce yourself?
John Wayne Saracen, mentor at Bless Centre.
Tezwa White, one of the directors at ACT-CIC.
Amano, and just a student.
Good. Corey Campbell, creative director of the Barber Theatre.
Okay, Corey, my name's Richard Campbell.
Oh, we're not related. Who knows, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, we don't know, we're stoking this. I'm from Blessed, and what we're doing a documentary and a research community project with NHS Bloods. So the importance of today is looking at black men. We're targeting black men and looking at why, because at NHS we are 1% of giving blood. And we like to say, okay, for sickle cell leukemia, we're low and they need more donors. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, how aware are you the need of blood donations and opportunities to donate blood? So I'm going to ask you that first question, John.
Well, to be honest, my awareness around donating blood, yes, I'm aware of it. I'm aware it's a thing where most people, like if you go to the doctor, you're aware of it. If I take my kids or wife to the hospital or whatever, they always ask you about donating blood. It's a question that's been asked frequently, whether you go to the doctor just for a checkup or whatever. You've been asked the question. It's not about being aware of it, but being educated around understanding why you need to give blood.
I hear one or two things about, campaigns specifically for issues that are affecting black people, but I don't think that's particularly widespread. I think we might hear one or two things on the radio. You might hear an advert here and you know what I mean. But I don't think it's too widespread, and specifically the reasons why.
I think it has been hammered down, but by who and why? As was said, we've all heard it a million times. So the hammering has happened, but specifically why? And also the other things that it's amongst. We hear so much of black people need to. And in and amongst that is urban myths of black people need to do this and they do research and they don't need to. Black people don't float. Black people, you get me? Only black people urban myths that go around. And I think this is just part of the thing.
There is something about being in the barbershop and talking. We're used to that. That is part of our culture that we do that. So I think it's a great space to have these conversations. I think is obviously every time we go to the doctors and you have to draw blood, you know what I mean? And they take like 3, 4, sometimes 6 vials of blood. And you're thinking, where you going with all that blood? You know what I mean? And you're doing one test. Yeah. You're going for one test. You know what I mean? And everybody knows that you only need one finger prick of blood to do any kind of test on things. So I think that we're in a system where sometimes things are kind of happening to us where if they're drawing blood, they're taking a lot. When you're thinking, what are you doing with all that blood? So going back to the urban myths, these things kind of fuel those kind of suspicions. Yeah. Well, what are you doing with the blood when you're taking?
To be honest, it's about trust, isn't it? It's about losing trust in the system from like a earlier time then. You know what I mean? Because as I said, when you look back at the history of black people and the trust with the system or medical system, is that black people could only afford it, or black people would have to take what they get. So black people lose the trust in the system to say, well, I'm not going to go to doctor, whether use homely remedies or bush stuff. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of going to the doctor, because they know that they're only getting second best, or they think that they can't trust the system. So we have to establish is regaining that trust in the system. You understand what that's been lost? And that is the only way black people are going to start stepping up and start donating and start going forefront to these things.
I think that we've had many conversations today, mainly about the distrust in the system. But as a people, it's about having the knowledge and the understanding of actually how important it is to do it, regardless of what we're talking about here, which is the issues with the system.
What are the most suitable channels for communications for donating this blood with black men or more around that? So what channels could be better if these are the myths, that how we engage and have effective communication?
I'm still unclear of who's the target audience of what age group that they want blood to be given to, because only from my perspective as a young person, I would say I would say social media really. More time Instagram, because if I would even envision it, it would be like one of those targeted give blood ads where black people are actually giving blood and actually talking about the statistics of this that we don't give blood, and actually someone seeing actually, you know, as minute as it sounds, actually seeing someone actually take the needle and actually getting the blood drawn out and then getting the stamp to say, yeah, you've done this, and then seeing and then seeing somebody who's given blood talk to someone who's had sickle cell and saying, yeah, you've given blood and it's helped me able to prolong my life and do these things.
I would love to be educated further on a lot of these things that I don't know anything about sickle cell. If we were able to actually have conversations about the source of why it's actually black people who are suffering these things and the education around that, there may well be a little bit more trust, so that when I hear these RP, posh English voices on the radio, I know that these are the same people who have understood that my oppression, my living situation, my circumstances, where I live, how I live, and all of those other things that come into play, not just the colour of my skin, but due to the fact that we are oppressed in a very particular way, leads to these complications. You know, I know we're talking about this specific thing, but you could say the exact same for diabetes and all the rest of the illnesses that plague the black community. It's not just about educating us on the thing. I want to know why these illnesses that know no race, you understand, seem to attack the people. And if we have that honest conversation, I might be able to believe the next thing you say.
So what factors do you think prevents us as black men from donating blood? And you've kind of touched on it already, so you can elaborate a bit more if you wish.
I mean, you know, if I just take it from a basic standpoint, like, all right, then, let's just say I'm willing to give blood now. I don't know where to go and give blood. That's the first thing. Before, we got to get past all the mindset stuff first. But then the second step is, all right, then I'm here now. You've got me. I'm willing to give blood. Where? Who? How? You know what I mean? One of the campaigns that came out, which was targeting, and actually I was blown away by it, because obviously I'm a youth worker. I work with young people and work around the agenda of youth violence. And I never forget that there was an organisation that approached me and they said, well, look, we want you to target, this is the offer they wanted to put out, right? We want you to target young black boys about giving donor organs, just what I'm saying, and blood, because a lot of black youths are dying in the streets. Just what I'm saying, you know what I mean? So we need to get a message out to young black boys that actually they're providing a source of organ donor and blood, and we want to target young people that are coming from these communities because they're more likely to be affected by youth violence. Now this was a live campaign that blew my head off. I said, you what? Are you for real? Are you all for real? This is a campaign that you want to launch, just what I'm saying, to target, not to prevent them from getting involved in youth violence, you know what I mean, and all the rest of it. A target to deal with the fact that actually, and so for me, when we start talking about the factors, trust is a massive issue. You cannot deal with the mistrust that we have of the system in general, whether it's the police, whether it's the NHS, just what I'm saying, whether it's politicians. We've got massive issues when it comes to trust.
We took a lot of our instances from America, and the biggest one is the Tuskegee experiment, where, you know, they had the doctors inject syphilis into black men, and that kind of made everyone shook up and say, yo, we're not into that. And then the urban myth that goes around and say, if you go into doctor for one little thing, you're coming out with extra issues, or you don't come out of the hospital. Then that kind of makes a prevailing myth of like, yo, if you're going to the doctor, make sure you're only going there for a life-threatening issue, because you will go in there and come out with a life-threatening issue from the doctor. And then for me personally, I would say it is really much the education. Is just like what Tess was saying, like, if I said that I want to go today, who would I go to? And then it's also the fact of I want to be able to track and trace, no pun intended, before we did I want to be able to track and trace
my blood,
where is my blood going? Because you know, always giving a side eye to institutions saying, yeah, you're doing this, you're saying you're doing this, but then you got some little contract down the bottom saying, no, it's going somewhere else. You know what I mean? So for me,
so that final little print. So I think the biggest thing to come out is trust again.
I feel it's a damn shame. I do. I feel we're in such a predicament, and you know, the people that are, you know, suffering with sickle cell, thalassemia, I think it's such a shame, you know what I mean? Because the reality is it's not them, and it's not their fault. They've got obviously these illnesses, you know what I mean? And one of the things that they do require, but so it's a shame.
When you go to the doctors and you need a blood transfusion and there's not enough blood type there, and it's one of your loved ones that you wish that you could save, and you don't have enough blood type, you don't have the same blood type, but somebody else from the Black Society who went and donate blood have the same blood type and willing to save your family. So that's why it's important for everybody from the black community to consider this. So sickle cell, what we discovered, so sickle cell is red blood cell. So it's when the red blood cell gets small and thickened and then turn in a C shape. How long this been going on? How long this disease been around and affecting black people? This is a disease that causes strokes. Because when the blood get thick, it stops up the blood vessel and you cause stroke. How many black people die from stroke? How many black men suffer from stroke? Who tell you this is not sickle cell? This is what I'm talking about, educating. If I lose my granddad from stroke and the whole post-mortem or whatever come and say, well, it was sickle cell that caused it. It was sickle cell that let your mom, you know what I mean, caused your mom leg to be amputated. If we did discover she got the blood donated, we could have helped her. Nobody knows these things. You go, you die, your granddad have stroke, nobody research anything. You say, oh, it was stroke, and you just lose your granddad. If anybody knew that it was sickle cell that killed your granddad, and you love your granddad so much and you cry and you miss him, wouldn't you try and help a next member of family? Wouldn't you go and donate blood now to prevent this from happening?
It is bringing that blood donation and localizing it into our spaces. So, for instance, when you was talking about institutions, you got Bless Centre, I don't know, you got the uni where black people are, church, a way where it can be done, but done in those spaces where it's not having to go to the hospital, because you know it's scary. It's like a cold white space where it's a big institution like, well, where, as we just mentioned before, it's a we don't trust those spaces. So going to church or other institutions like yours and doing it there could help.
Do NHS get that? Do they get that we don't that we see their spaces as actually threatening spaces that we don't actually want to enter?
They do.
Do they understand
And then
that?
they usually bring like people like Richard to come in and explain, oh, why is this happening? And then they explain and say, all right, then we're writing a report, and then they just dash the report into the file.
Yeah, we'll do it again in the next 5 years.
No, it's a serious issue, but I don't believe that just because I trust you, mean I can trust them. I mean, I'm a man that will do my own research, proper research, but then the other problem is Google can be your enemy same time.
Of course.
You find 100 conspiracies, and then just underneath that you get the fact. You know, if you're lucky enough.
That's true, and I think that's a good point in how we research as well. It's so important as well in how we research.
So maybe we can just start with like those same institutions just delivering on what they said they're going to deliver, and just be clear and be accountable and transparent, and that should be enough. I think today's session was really important because it kind of gave me an introduction of what sickle cell is, or what it means to give blood, why the barriers are there, and how we can move forward.
What factors motivates you to donate blood, or what factors would? And I give you a fact that would motivate me is losing my niece at 16 to sickle cell, because that is impacting on our family. In fact, to me, I would actually do something about that to help her and bring her back now if I could. So that's what motivates me, that I would do something about it. There's nothing apart from that, because that was such an impact, and losing my sister, losing her daughter at 16 and having to go through all of that. If there's something that we could prevent doing that, then that's what would motivate me to actually give. So that's the kind of question I'm posting out. Is there anything that would motivate you?
Just that, hearing these stories, to be honest, and hearing the lived experiences of the people would make me go and do it. I'm already considering where I go and get it sorted myself. But if it wasn't from lived experiences, I'd probably struggle. You know, we were speaking earlier about the amount of different things that cause giving blood, whether it's violent crimes, stabbings, whatever else next. I think most people probably don't even know that they've been helped by somebody who's given blood, you get me? And I think that's really powerful in one way, because if we're educated on it, we can say actually, this doesn't just affect this small number of people. Most people, or a good percentage of people, have either lost their lives because they haven't had the right blood, or as black people, or their lives have been saved by someone who did give blood as black people.
Me and Tess do a lot of gun and knife crime stuff. For me, a lot of stabbings and support that. Where did they get that blood from? Do you know what I mean? With that saving lives as well. And I wouldn't turn away from it. I'd be like, if I could save a youth's life, and then I would. That's, you know, more, because we've been in this game a long time as youth workers, and we see it happen all the time where lives needs to be saved. Yeah. And so that for me is a never motivating. That if I can save a youth that's got stabbed, that's coming. You get me? I'm going to try it.
And I think that's where that's why I started off by saying it's a sad state of affairs. Because even though I might be motivated to go and give blood, and we fall now into the 1%, just what I'm saying. But in terms of the masses, in terms of giving blood, that's the sad state of affairs, because we've still got all these myths to explode. We've still got, and I don't even discredit by saying myths. Actually, no, this is historical facts. It's not saying myth. We're still talking what it is. You know what I mean? They're not myths. There are various historical facts that leads. We're not distrusting for no reason. We have reason to distrust. Really enjoyed today. Enjoyed coming down to the barber shop, and obviously conversating with people, our own people, man. Having these discussions, I think they're critical. We need to have them. We need to be able to discuss what the problems are, what the issues are, what the solutions are. Because I think evading all of the conversation, we're still going away into a situation where, blood's still not being given. There might be more medium-term things that we can do in the here and now, and I would like those things to be explored. Can we have, medical associations, black medical associations?
A starting point.
There has to be a starting point.
Because I think the reason has to be a starting point.
So where are the black medical associations, just what I'm saying, that can, I don't know, hire a bank that they control, that they can say, yes, this blood's going into here and it's directly going for these particular people. Where is that?
Hey guys, so I am currently in the process of doing a blood donation. As you can see there, see the process of what that's happening. In terms of pain, it's I'd probably say scale of 1 to 10, probably 2, maybe 2 bad at all. Just very quick pain. I'm not a big fan of needles, but it's okay. I'm feeling okay as well. The nurses here have been very helpful, giving me some exercises to do to make sure that I'm comfortable, as comfortable as possible. And all good so far, so good. So donation completed. Just finishing off with the final pieces. You can see that's my bag of blood there. Straightforward, simple. Lasted no more than about 5 minutes. Happy days. Someone else will be able to use the blood now, and it wasn't much for me to do so. So all good. I definitely encourage people to get down and give blood because we definitely need it.